You ever notice how when regular people screw up, the universe snaps its fingers and goes, "All right, buddy, it's consequence time." You get a ticket, a fine, a citation, a suspension, a court date, a mugshot. You get accountability. But when a rich person screws up, they get a yacht upgrade and a list of options for a way out. A comeback documentary, a corporate bailout, a tearful Barbara Walters interview about how this has been such a difficult time for me. Because somewhere along the way, we accepted the idea that a bad person with a lot of money is the perfect storm for truly catastrophic shit. Money plus ego plus no consequences equals society on fire, presented to us in a shadow box wrapped in the American flag. A poor person steals a sandwich in its local news. A billionaire traffics minors, and half the country goes, well, I mean, he was really good at investing. And besides, who else can dance like that? And Epstein, that dude wasn't a fluke. He was the fucking blueprint. So let's look at the roster. Prince Andrew, Ghislaine Maxwell, O.J. Simpson, Sean Combs, R. Kelly, Bill Cosby. But how about Chrysler, General Motors, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, AIG, the entire airline industry? The whole Hall of Fame of how the hell did they get away with that for so long? And the answer is the same every time. Money dissolves consequences like acid. It corrodes the person holding it, and it corrodes everyone orbiting them. You can be the worst human being alive, but if you've got a Gulfstream jet, there will be people, good people, smart people, who will tie themselves into philosophical pretzels to justify every monstrous thing you do. Fandoms, institutions, political parties, people who should know better, people who do know better, deciding to look directly at evil and shrug because Lex Luthor over here has a private chef, and I want to think I belong to that same rarefied air. Michael Jackson moonwalked over entire minefields of red flags because he was rich enough, famous enough, magical enough, that people stopped trusting their own eyes. And some of you still say, well, he didn't have a childhood. He was just manifesting his inner child by having unchaperoned sleepovers with children. But ask yourself, what other child stars have ever done that in their adulthoods? And if you think this is modern, it's not. Hitler didn't start as a cartoon villain. Mussolini didn't walk onto the world stage twirling a mustache. They were just men who learned that if you stack enough money, enough power, and enough desperate people willing to believe in something bigger than themselves, you can reshape their reality. Putin spent a lifetime perfecting the formula. But now we have the American remix. Teflon Donald J. Trump. A man who could commit a crime on camera in 4K with surround sound and walk away untouched. Because he's wealthy enough that people assume that wealth equals brilliance. Brilliance equals leadership. And leadership equals, I will follow you to the gates of hell if you promise me a tax refund and cheaper eggs. Imagine hearing anything about groceries from a guy who's never gone grocery shopping in his entire life. A guy who couldn't even cook himself a PB&J because he's literally never had to. And MAGA? Most of MAGA has absolutely nothing in common with this guy. They're working 2 jobs, budgeting gas money, praying the car doesn't decline at the pump. Meanwhile, their hero is a coastal, gold-plated New York elite who wouldn't share a lunch table with them, let alone invite them to one of his tacky chandelier mansions. He doesn't even think you're worthy to shit in his gold toilet. And I won't begrudge you the argument that a person should pull themselves up by their bootstraps and work hard for their goals. But to idolize a guy who has had the privilege to fail upward his entire life isn't that. But he played a billionaire on TV, a fake billionaire in scripted boardroom cosplay, and reality TV worked better on America than any Russian psyop. The Apprentice was a 14-season hallucination, convincing ordinary struggling Americans that their savior was a man who literally fired people for fun. It wasn't politics, it was storytelling, and it worked. And the creators of that show even admitted to it and apologized for it, but it was too late. And it's not just politics. Look at the televangelist industrial complex. Joel Osteen, Kenneth Copeland, Joyce Meyer, Paula White Cain. People who have turned faith into a Fortune 500 company and built mansions the size of high schools off the backs of people who just want to believe that somebody, anybody, will save them. People want to feel chosen. They want to feel protected. They want to feel like someone powerful is finally on their side. And con artists, especially wealthy ones, can smell that longing from fucking space. And here's why it's such a big deal to me. Because if you really want to understand the stakes here, the real danger of giving a bad person unlimited resources, look no further than Epstein Island. One survivor described something that will never leave my mind. She said some girls managed to slip away. Out of the rooms, out of the surveillance, out of the hands that claimed ownership over them. And they'd run. They'd run through the hallways, through the bushes, through panic until they reached the beach. And for a split second, with the ocean stretched out in front of them and the air finally hitting their face, it felt like freedom until it hit them. There was nowhere to go. No one to turn to. No help coming, no police to call, no adult to trust. No nearby island, no passing boat, no safe harbor on the horizon. Just a billionaire with a Rolodex full of powerful friends and a private island designed to make children feel like the entire world had disappeared. So they would collapse in the sand and sob, not from the sprint, not from the fear, but from the realization that this man was so rich, so connected, so protected, that even escaping the building didn't mean escaping him. And that's what a bad person with money builds. Not just a crime scene, a universe. A universe where their power is absolute and everyone else's hope is optional. So when people tell me wealth doesn't corrupt, or that billionaires are just successful, or that Trump is some brilliant folk hero who's for the people, I think about that beach. I think about those girls, and I think about how far we let monsters go when they're rich enough that the world stops saying no and starts saying, right away, sir, whatever you want, sir. A bad man with money doesn't just break laws. He breaks people. He breaks institutions. He breaks reality. And by the time the rest of us notice, there's nothing left on the beach but the sound of the waves and a nation realizing that we ran out of places to run.